I think actually a good place to start would be the roadmap that they talked about, because
Okay.
one thing that a lot of people have been talking about, which I do kind of agree is important to an extent, is the fact that there has been a lot of big gaps in between seasons, which I
Yeah.
think is something that people, it's we kind of we kind of expected at this point,
Mm,
but most of the time in games like this that have seasonal based content, they usually come every couple of months, but here it's like
yeah.
once a year, which I can understand. I don't
Mm.
know if you understand, but
I
like,
do, seeing how big the team is there, like
yeah,
firsthand, and
it's not
like
a
they're not like a massive company.
yeah, that's true. You have insider knowledge because you actually got to go meet them. Lucky,
Yes,
lucky
that is
bastard.
true. Yeah, there's.
So you have a lot of insider information too that I don't have, which I think is going to be very nice because we get two different perspectives about this.
Yeah.
Um, I also feel like we kind of can't talk about this without talking about their decision to, now that season 5 is pretty much completed, they're
Mm,
now shifting their full attention to Rogue Core, which I think is perfectly understandable
yeah.
and believable position for them to be at, since Rogue Core is going to be the next big thing that they come out with,
Yeah,
which,
absolutely.
and I'm very much looking forward. You got to play it a little bit, which
I
I'm very
did.
jealous about,
I got
and
to play it for 2 days.
I'm really excited to see what comes out. And I think that
Mm.
the choice for them to, I think what was the phrase that they used in the post? A wise philosopher once said, "Never half-ass two things, whole-ass one thing." And I think that
Yes,
that is incredibly appropriate, and I think that it
I
makes a
would
lot
say
of.
so too.
So I think that it does kind of suck that we're going to be getting at least a decent bit of a content drought for a little while,
Yeah, more
somewhat.
than likely.
I think it's going to be rectified with some of the stuff that's coming in season 5, which we'll talk about later.
Yeah.
One of the big features that's going to be giving a lot of people a lot of content to work towards, which we'll get to.
Oh yeah.
But
Yeah.
but overall, I think I can see where people are coming from with uh, being upset that there's going to be these big gaps in between each season. But I
Mm.
think that, again, the team is not that big. We're not talking about a AAA game studio here.
Yeah.
We're talking
Yeah.
about a smaller studio, a smaller passionate studio,
Mm.
that I think that overall this is going to be a very wise decision for them to make. We're not going to like it in the short term, but I think in the long term we're going to look back at this and be like, wow, that was worth the wait.
Yeah, I think that that's something important to keep in mind, because it's also different from our perspective too of making content, as opposed to
Mm.
people just wanting to like play the game or wanting something new, because it they both kind of go hand in hand to some extent. But if you're just hopping into this every once in a while and playing it, then you might have content for the entirety of the season as it goes on. If you're playing it super casually, like once a week or something, as opposed to if you're doing content on it, you're probably playing it a whole lot more often so that you can make
Yeah.
more stuff.
Yeah, I think that's definitely very important. And also, their plate is full. I know that like they're not
Yeah.
making a lot of games; they're publishing a lot of games, but
Mm,
that's still a decent amount of work. I don't know the inner workings or the inner details about that. You might know a little
yeah.
bit more because you were there and you got to see that. But I'm assuming even just publishing something is a lot of work.
Yeah, that is. I know that that's taken up by mostly Soren, like the CEO. He was mostly in charge of kind of getting those things put together and meetings and just sort of getting things sorted out as like a CEO does. And then like
Right.
the rest of the team was more oriented towards whatever they were trying to do at the time. Like Mike and Mickle were definitely trying to get things on board for either season 5 or for Rogue Core, depending on which day we were there and kind of what they were planning. Because they did at least do the demo to Rogue Core that we got to play, but then they had to pretty much move the team to finish up
Mm.
season 5. So Rogue Core was put on pause essentially after the demo that we got to play, and then everybody moved to that. And then they'll move back to Rogue Core. So
And I'm assuming once Rogue Core is done, we'll probably get more season 6 progress, whatever that's going to be.
probably, yeah. And I have no idea about season 6.
Oh, I don't
Mike's.
even think they probably know.
Oh yeah, no. Mike's official answer was So like,
That sounds just like him.
like
Uh,
I was like, oh, okay, cool.
then on that note, we might as well finally get into this season because there's a
Yeah.
lot of meat. There's a lot of meat to get into with this season. We
Mm.
got a lot of content, at least in
Yeah.
my personal opinion, probably
I think it's the
the most
most.
content it's definitely some of the most
Yeah.
content we've gotten in a season. If you just
Yeah.
put all things and a lot of stuff, I don't know if you were able to see everything, but a lot of the stuff that they announced, I had no idea that they were gonna be adding in,
I,
especially some of the more, like, later stuff that we'll talk about.
yeah, some of the stuff they didn't tell us at all about. It's like that was a surprise to me. Like some of the I think the later stuff we'll talk about where it's like I was honestly surprised that that was shown because I was
Mhm.
like, "Huh, we talked about that briefly when we were there, but it didn't sound like that was going to make it in."
I
And
feel like I
then
know exactly what you're talking about, but
yeah.
well, so I feel like we'll start with the theme
Mm.
because to everyone's love, we are finally done with Rockfox. We
Yeah.
are finally over and done with it, which I
Yeah.
think everybody is happy. I mean, okay, to be fair though, I never was really a big hater of Rockfox, or I don't know
I
about
didn't
you,
mind
but
it. Yeah.
I thought it was annoying
Mm.
in the beginning, and like now I'm at the
Yeah.
point where it's like, okay, another meteor happens, but overall
Yeah.
in terms of like just a concept itself, I thought it was fine.
I
But
think I
I
think the concept's really cool. It was usually just like
when
where things could spawn was the issue for me.
when they made it to where everything just releases Rockbox when it dies, I think that was kind of a bit of
Yeah.
a that was kind of a turning point for a lot of people
Mm.
because I believe when because I didn't play too much at the very beginning of season 3, but I believe
Mm.
if you killed things with with melee damage, they wouldn't release any rock pox. So the driller was basically just like a god at that particular point in time,
Yeah,
from what I've heard.
I kind of remember that. The biggest problem I had with at least the start of season 3, which I think got better, was just you could have like rockpox spawn basically in the ceiling. And it's
Yeah,
like it just takes
that
so
was
much
annoying.
time. Yeah. Cuz it's like,
Like if you
oh,
didn't have an engineer scout combo, you were just doomed.
yeah, yeah, sometimes that would happen and it's like if I'm playing like solo gunner or something and I get that, it's like suddenly the match has got 3 times longer because I have
Yep,
to like get my
exactly.
way up there to actually it seems like that got changed quite a bit in the future where that doesn't seem to happen as much.
The important thing to note is that we are done with Rockpox now.
Yeah.
And the theme, well, not done, but it's taken a back seat, obviously now.
Yeah.
It's still gonna be there. You're still gonna probably get the lithophage that shows up every now and then. Harold's still gonna be wandering around every now and then. So
Yeah.
you're still gonna have to deal with him every so often, but it's just not gonna be nearly as prominent, which I think nobody is upset about.
Probably not.
Um,
I think it's kind of the same thing with the previous seasons too, where it's like it's kind of cool now to see like a data vault because just like they don't
oh
pop up
yeah,
that much anymore. So it's like, oh, this is kind of cool, as opposed
I
to
get
like,
happy.
yeah, like season 1 and 2, where it's like, oh, okay, there's another one. We got to do another one this stage. There's another one the next stage.
I get happy every time I see a prospector drone because I'm just like,
Yeah.
it's like finding like some sort of like African elephant in the wild. You're like, I don't see you anymore.
Yeah, they're so rare.
Overall, I think that this is a nice tone shift. The name of the season is Drilling Deeper. I guess we probably should have mentioned that at the top of this whole thing, but
It's
the whole
fine. We'll put
theme,
in a thing later in
yeah,
post.
everything will be. We'll probably put some B-roll behind us so you guys can see everything,
Yeah.
but we'll
Yeah.
have stuff up so you guys can see what we're talking about. And the whole theme is basically a prelude or a beginning of like Rogue Core, not
Yeah.
necessarily like related, but I guess related in the sense that like you're drilling deeper into Hoxxes, which is
Mm.
really cool, and that
Yeah.
gets into the mission type, which we'll get to in a moment.
Mm.
But overall, I think that the tone shift from Rockpox to this is very welcome, and I think
Yeah.
it's gonna hit big with a lot of people.
I think so too, especially having seen some of this stuff ahead of time that it's like I think people are really going to enjoy it cuz I feel like this is going to be a much more like action focused season. Not saying like the previous ones weren't, but it's I feel like this is going to be like you just keep going, you know?
It's action in a different way.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of that is culminated in the new mission type that we have, which is
Mm.
the deep scan mission type, which this is
Yes.
the first time that we've gotten a new mission type all the way since season 1.
It
All the
is.
way since season 1, this is the very first mission type we've gotten since. Kind of
Mm.
crazy.
Yeah.
And you got to play it firsthand, but even
But I
when
actually didn't get to play this mission.
Oh, you didn't?
No, I didn't play
Really?
this mission. This wasn't complete.
Wow.
I got to see some of the
Oh.
concept art to it, but I didn't get to actually play it.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay, so you were just kind of as like shocked as the rest of us.
Yeah.
That's kind of interesting. But overall, but in general, I mean, I see this mission type and I think it looks really interesting. So
Mm.
do you want to walk us through like the main process of this particular mission real quick?
Yeah, so we have a hot cold feature where we're going to be scanning for our underground nodes that we need to hook up. We'll need to call in something and attach them. This isn't going to be a defend the area thing, though. They did mention that. So this isn't going to be like a Hoxxes. Then we're going to get the drill-evator called down, and then we actually get a drop down with the drill-evator. On the way down, then we're also going to be getting attacked, and the drill-evator is going to be getting stopped, or at least slowed down by the sounds of it, where we have to fix that up. I'm curious as to which enemies they're going to have coming down the hole with us.
I'm pretty sure they confirmed that bulks can't spawn. I'm pretty sure they've said that. I don't quote me on that, but I'm like 90% certain they said bulks can't spawn. I
know they said they're going to have a no-go list of different things that's going to be there. So I'm wondering how many different things, or if they're just going to have like a low spawn chance. Because I see like bulks being an issue, septic spreaders, rollers potentially, and like stingtails. I can just imagine getting yoinked and instantly killed. We'll have to see.
It pulls you to the top of the hole, and then you just fall down, and you're like, well.
Yeah, it's going to be like a rubber banding leech. I don't think leeches, unless, well, no, because I imagine the drill-evator would probably kill him as it gets spawned in. I would think. So,
but then we ride the drill-evator, and then what?
And then we break down into the very deep part of Hoxxes, where we get to do the rest of the mission that
which is collecting these Morkite seeds, which is how they describe it, which I didn't even think Morkite was like an organic material, but I guess it is. It's kind of very interesting.
Yeah.
And we collect these Morkite seeds, deposit them into Molly, and then we get special jet boots to escape.
Yep, that's the way that we're going to be escaping. Although Molly just walks up the walls.
I feel like it would make more sense if we deposited in the drill-evator. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like a point extraction type thing, and then that just kind of goes away. But I mean, I guess they just wanted us Molly. I'm okay with, obviously.
Yeah, I'm fine with that too. Like, I don't see a problem with that. The new area looks absolutely awesome that we're seeing in the deeper part of Hoxxes.
Yeah, it's like some sort of like obsidian looking like cocoon or something. It's kind of crazy. When they were describing this new mission type, I was getting like egg hunt mixed with like escort duty type vibes. Like sort of like a combination of both of those, sort of.
Yeah, I kind of was too. Like that seems to be sort of what it is. It's a vertical drill dozer type mission. Then we've got like the eggs that we gotta more or less get from this. So it's like, yeah, I can see that, but I think it's gonna be a bit different than both those mission types. I think it's gonna feel completely different.
Oh yeah. It's definitely gonna have. It definitely has a little bit more of a sense of urgency to it, I want to say. Just because, like you said, it's not hacking. We're not going to be hacking. I'm guessing it's just a case of we just plug the machines into the crystal thing, and then we just get the information. It might take like a little bit of time, but not a whole lot. And then we ride the drill-evator down straight out of the descent and fight enemies all the way down, which is going to be really interesting. I'm wondering how big the platform's going to be. If it's going to be like kind of like I'm thinking if it's gonna be might be something similar to like the point extraction sort of platform where it's like roomy but not super crazy, or if it's gonna be like really claustrophobic.
I feel like it's probably gonna be the point extract size. I feel like just by looking at the pictures, it seems to be about that size. Might feel a little bit different in game though.
This mission makes me wish that the the spring rippers that the driller has. It kind of makes me wish that they went like horizontal. That way you can just like throw it on the side and it just sort of spin around. Because I do that on escort duty missions all the time. I'll just I'll throw it down the tunnel and it'll just become a meat grinder.
Yeah, they're pretty good on those missions.
Oh yeah, they're terrible everywhere else, but
they're
good. They're great there.
Unless you're like really good at getting them to stick to the pipes and they go around, but I've never been able to do that consistently.
Oh yeah, I'm not good at that either.
It's like that looks really cool, but I screw it up every time.
And then, like you said earlier, we have a new seasonal event, the Core Stone, although the devs literally told us absolutely nothing about it other than that it exists. I know you know what's going on.
Yes.
And I know you probably aren't at liberty to disclose, but...
No, I can't say. It will be really cool.
Like, the only thing they told us is that there's this Core Stone, it's in a big purple crystal, and you collect it, and that's it. That's all they told us.
Yeah.
I can make a theory as to what I think is going to happen, but
I think go for it. I can't say anything, but
oh yeah, I'm just assuming that like either this stone is sentient and it doesn't like being picked up, or this stone is going to trigger something to become very angry. Those are the only two things that I can possibly think of. But like, yeah,
Yeah.
they literally told us nothing about it. They were just like, it's a new stone. This is what you collect for the seasonal event. And that's it. Then they literally went into the
Yeah. Yeah, I understand that because it's like, yeah, I know what it is, and it's going to be pretty awesome because that was actually one of the very first things we got to see when we were there. They're like,
Ooh.
oh, come over here and check out this. We've got this new thing that we want to show you. And it's like, oh, that looks awesome.
So then you have a lot of experience with this next topic,
Mm.
which is something
Oh,
that is a little bit fishy with a lot of people because of what happened this last season. But we're getting 3 new enemy types
yeah, we are.
being added into the game. Do you
Mm.
want to give us a quick rundown of what those enemies are?
Yeah, we got the new Glyphid Stalker, which that's personally the one I'm looking the most forward to because it looks awesome. Decloaked. We don't have any pictures of that right now, but it will be decloaked if you hit it or if you ping it. So Mickle did confirm that. And then we have also the Barrage Infector. That is a new version of the Spitballer or a new family of the Spitballer. This one fires out like a shotgun, and these spit out multiple little balls that will then explode. I'm not sure how big the explosion radius is on these, but that one should be pretty interesting. And then we also got the Vartok, I think I'm saying that one right, Scale Bramble. This is the guy that will be attached to the ceiling or walls, and you have to shoot the various nodes that he's got there for him to open up for you to hurt him. Reminds me of the guys from Dead Space.
Yeah, I was just about to say, what were those things called? Like the can't remember what they're called.
Oh, I don't
Uh,
remember what they're called in Dead Space.
somebody will leave a comment telling us what they are. But
Yeah.
yeah, so this is like kind of a mixed bag
Mm,
because I love the idea of obviously new enemies, and I think that these look really really cool.
yeah.
But it's a lot of people are understandably a little bit hesitant with the
Oh, yeah, with the
with
Stingtail
the
and the
with the the questionable release of the Stingtail and the Septic Spreader last season. Now I
yeah.
think that both of them are in a perfectly good
Yeah.
position. They're not too oppressive, they're not too crazy, but it's kind of hard to ignore that they were very, very oppressive on release.
Yeah, they
So much
could
to the point
be.
that people so much to the point where people didn't think they were super fun. I've
Mm,
even heard people say that they, like, stopped playing because they just didn't like the way that the new enemies were, which is a bit
yeah.
of a disappointment because,
Mm,
we're unfortunately in a we're fortunately in a position where, we can kinda handle those tougher enemies, but, like, for
mm,
newer players, like the Stingtail was very, very
yeah.
oppressive because it didn't have a cooldown on its grab. It
Mm,
was pretty much as tanky as like a Praetorian almost.
yeah,
And
pretty much.
it was just its tail was like a hit scan. So
Mm,
you almost like couldn't dodge it. Again, now it's a lot better, but
yeah. Yeah, and I mean, like, there was ways around it because, like, we kind of figured out stuff right away. Where it's like,
mhm,
okay, you can like drill the tail, you can smack the tail with an impact axe if you're playing driller. You can kind of bait the tail, especially if you're around like a corner or something. It's like there was that, but yeah, it's like it was. I imagine very frustrating for new players just to get yoinked
mhm.
away and just keep getting stabbed by something that's that tanky and you can't get away from it.
I think the good thing about it is that at least with the way that they describe and showcase these enemies, which again, we haven't gotten any actual footage, it's just all
Mm,
screenshots, so it's kind of hard to say exactly how they're going to function. But it
yeah.
seems that they all have some sort of a way to where they're not going to be too overly oppressive. The only one I can maybe think
Mm,
of is maybe the Stalker, because I know that
yeah.
I know that they said it has an ability to like disrupt your shields and stop
Mm,
them from recovering, which is cool. I like that, but I just don't want it to be like a second Stingtail situation where it's like you basically just never have your shields. You know what I mean?
yeah. Yeah.
But
I'm not entirely sure because I didn't get to see any animations either. I'm just as
right.
like I got to see what they look like when it was firsthand, but I didn't get to actually see how they work in game.
I think the Scale Bramble and the Barrage Infector both have the benefit of being stationary. So at
Yeah.
very worst case scenario, you can at least hide from them.
Mm,
Like there's going to be angles where you're not going to be able to get hit by them, which gives you a chance to sort of collect
yeah.
yourself. Kind of the same thing with the Spitballer.
Mm,
Um, I am curious, like you said, of how well the explosives are going to be with the Barrage Infector because yeah, it
yeah.
like fires like a shotgun of like minelets almost.
Mm,
Then they explode afterwards. And are those explosions going to be like acid damage? Like how are they going to function? It's just
yeah.
and how common are these things going to be too?
Yeah, I would bet that these ones are probably going to be just as common as Spitballers, so probably you won't see them too often. I can see these being an issue if you do modded and spawn more of them in, like
Oh,
more stationaries. Because like it's already real difficult to dodge the Spitballers if there's multiple, so it's gonna be potentially even worse if they have a shotgun.
Use mods responsibly, kids.
Yeah. I'm also wondering
The
if they'll explode immediately. Like if you can block them with drills like you can the regular spitballer shots, or if they'll explode when you do that, and that's just a really bad idea.
Yeah, is it time-based proximity? Like, they haven't really quite given us a whole lot to really think about with that,
Yeah,
but don't think they specified this, but did they say if the projectiles can stick onto the players? I don't
I
think
don't
they
think
said.
they said that.
Well, I mean, they didn't say it, but they also did not say it because I'm just curious. It's
Yeah,
like if you just get hit by these things, are you just done?
yeah.
That's gonna be hilarious. But
I don't think they
over,
would, but maybe.
you never know. You never
Yeah,
know. The scale bramble, I do think is a very unique design. I don't know.
yeah.
You said you got to see it firsthand, like not do anything, but you at least
Mm,
got to see it, like the model.
yeah.
Can you attest to like how large it is? Because that was one thing I was kind of curious about, as to like if it was like cave
I,
leech sized or like tyrant weed sized.
I'm not entirely sure because I just seen it by itself, and it didn't even have
Mm.
like the background that it has in these screenshots. It was
Oh,
just like the
okay.
framework. So, or I guess like the model that you could see, and there
Hmm.
wasn't anything around to compare it to scale. So, like, I don't know
Interesting.
how big this is going to be. I do think that something like the Stalker is going to be a bit bigger than the regular Glyphids, though.
Yeah, you can kind of see it in scale with some of the players in a few of
Mm,
the screenshots that they have. You can kind of sort of see it.
yeah.
Even obviously you can't see it, but you can see
Mm,
like its basic profile definition. And yeah, I would say it looks to me like maybe on the same size as like maybe the Warden, almost like kind of like a
uh,
similar size to that,
yeah,
where
maybe.
it's like bigger than the Grunt, but not quite as big as a Praetorian almost.
Yeah, it's not going to be like giant, but it does look bigger than the other, like the Slasher and the Guard and stuff. It looks a little bit bulkier than them.
Hmm.
So, yeah.
Which is going to be really interesting to see.
Mm,
And I'm curious if the scale bramble itself is going to like, if obviously it's going to shoot projectiles stationary, but like I'm wondering if it's just going to be a damaging projectile, if it's going to be like acid,
mm.
neurotoxin, or like what they're going to do with it, you know.
I'm not entirely sure because it does say that it has like acidic anchors. I'm also wondering if you break those and you're standing too close, would you get slowed down or take damage? Like if you
Mm.
ran up and pickaxed them? I don't think that's been talked about either. But then again, I don't know
Hmm.
where the like nodes are gonna spawn either. You know, they might
That also
spawn
raises
quite a ways away.
a good question. Like, what if you don't take out the nodes, but you like drill underneath of them? Like,
I wonder. Yeah.
will they just fall off and just die, or like
It
would
might
you
be
not
like
have
the
to worry
turrets
about it?
then, yeah.
That'd be kind of interesting. That'd be again another driller exploit.
Yeah. Driller gets another tag.
Driller's gonna just shoot up in value. Oh, then again, all the classes I think are gonna shoot up in value
Mm,
because there's a lot more range, so the gunner's gonna pump up in value, at least in my opinion, with his shield.
yeah.
Um, depending on the position of the pustules for the scale bramble, the scout's probably gonna go up in value because he can just zip to them.
Yeah.
And the engineer is just going to go up in value just at base of being the engineer. He just goes up in
Yeah.
value pretty much every season almost.
That is true, yeah. Inji's always like a very well rounded one, so
That's why he's the best.
I'm never disappointed
But
in using Inji.
he's always fun, at least in my
Yeah.
opinion.
The only time I was
Um,
disappointed in Inji is when they didn't give him any like changes in one of the patches. I don't remember what it was. I think Inji got like one change and like everybody else got a bunch of overclock changes.
oh yeah, I think they like adjusted like one of his cleans and that was it.
Yeah, it
I'm
was
pretty
something
sure
like
that's what it
that. And
was.
it's just
I
like,
could be
okay.
wrong, but
Like I'm not gonna be playing Inji as much as everybody else then because I want to try out all the new stuff and Inji got like one normal change.
I mean, to be fair though, he and everybody else are getting some new toys with the new overclocks we're getting though.
That is true. We
That
are
that
getting those.
is we're not getting new weapons, sadly. I know everybody likes to see new weapons. I want to see more weapons as well. I would love to
Mm,
see Driller with a Tesla cannon. A different story.
me too.
But new overclocks I think are a pretty good consolation prize, if not just as good.
Oh yeah.
Especially with the ones that we got to see, because they did showcase
Mm,
4 of the 12 that we are going to be getting. I guess
yeah.
technically you could say 13 because they did say they're heavily reworking one of them, but they just haven't said which one.
Yeah,
But
I think it was implied that that one was also going to be an Inji one.
ah,
I'm not entirely
then
sure about that, but
well, in any event, they showcased 4 of them.
mm,
The 4 that they showcased are all unstable. I'm assuming they're
yeah,
all unstable, or at the very least balanced, that we're getting. But I
more
wouldn't
than
be surprised if
likely.
they were all unstable. But we
Mm,
got the the pump action for the engineer, which is basically going to, as they describe, convert the weapon into a 6-gauge pump action capable of dealing massive damage and punching through multiple enemies. I
Yeah.
believe it's adding a lot more damage, giving it blow through, and reducing its, I believe, magazine size
Yes.
and extra ammo. We'll have it up so you guys can see everything. But
Mm.
I'm very much excited for this because I love the Warthog so much, and I hate
Yeah.
the fact that it does so little
Yeah.
damage. I hate it so much because it's one of my comfort weapons, but I'm like,
Mm.
I feel like I'm slapping the bugs with a wet paper towel when I use this thing.
Yeah, I like the Warthog too. I was just disappointed the Warthog only had 5 overclocks, so it's pretty cool that it's getting 6. Because like all
Yeah,
the
that's
other ones have at least 6.
I remember when I did my video for that, I'm like, wow, this thing only has 5. What the it only has one balanced, I think.
Yeah.
I think it only
Yeah.
has one unbalanced with the shaped shells, I think. But
Mm.
I'm very interested in this particular one. Also, more than anything, I want to know if it's actually going to pump. I think that's the question
They
on
have confirmed
everybody's.
that.
It is going to pump? Oh,
Yeah.
I'm very happy with that then.
Yeah. It's gonna pump every shot, so that should be pretty cool.
And then we
Yeah.
got the mortar rounds for the Thunderhead, which this one they they just kind of went crazy with this one.
Yeah.
Basically, the Thunderhead is now going to basically be an artillery cannon. You can
Mm.
lob explosive shells that are going to arc and deal
Mm.
like insane high explosive rounds that do like very high damage. Kind of sucks that the armor breaking on these things are still it still doesn't work quite as well as it's supposed to be, even though they did change
Oh,
it a
yeah,
little
yeah.
bit. But because you're still not going to get the full benefit of it. But
Mm.
I think that gunners are going to love this one.
Yeah, this one's gonna be super fun. Even if it turns out to not be that great, I'm probably gonna use it a lot just because it's gonna be silly, and I want to try
Yeah,
out like how it works with different builds. If building all AOE would be a good idea, or if building like all rate of fire would be a good idea.
I have a good buddy of mine who mains gunner, and I think he's
Mm.
going to absolutely adore this.
Yeah, yeah. Unless they add cooler stuff for the hurricane into the minigun, like this one's
Yeah,
probably gonna
that's
be a really
true.
fun one to use.
That's true. Yeah, we could get some. I have no idea what they're going to do with the other ones.
Mm.
Do you want to take us to the through the other two real quick? The one for the driller and the
Sure.
scout.
Yeah, we've got Firewall for the Crisper Flamethrower. This one makes it so you can now dump your entire fuel tank and just light everything on fire around you. You are slowed down when you're in the process of dumping this. You don't seem to be slowed down all that much, because this is actually one of the 2 overclocks I seen when I was there. It didn't seem too bad, but I don't know how that's going to be when you're getting swarmed as to how bad that's actually going to feel. I'm really looking forward to that one. What are your thoughts on it?
I a lot of people have been saying it's basically just the flamethrower's equivalent of snowball for the cryo cannon, or
Yeah,
like
kinda.
it basically turns it into like a flame version of the breach cutter, like the engineer's breach cutter kind of, because
Yeah.
it fires out in like a line basically.
Hmm.
Um, I'm very interested to see this because the flamethrower is my personal favorite driller primary.
Yeah.
Um, and I think this is just gonna make it a lot more like chaotic in a good way.
Yeah.
I think that it's gonna give a lot more AoE to it,
Hmm.
and it just again looks incredibly fun.
Yeah. Yeah, don't let drilling in the name of here that flamethrower is your favorite. Yeah.
Why does he not like it?
He likes to bash on it. He thinks it's fine, but
Oh,
it's just the most
he's just,
basic of the weapons. He might like it now with this one.
oh yeah, I guarantee you he'll probably start using it a lot more. Maybe I don't
Mm,
know.
yeah. Yeah, and then we also have the Marked for Death for the M1000 Classic. So this will nerf your overall focus shot damage to basically nothing. I'm not sure exactly how much that is, since we don't have exact numbers for it. But it will make it so whenever you hit an enemy, this marks it so that it will take extra damage from all sources, similar to the IFG. And this should stack with the IFG, so you can stack even more damage on enemies for the whole team. This will be more of like a support weapon, I believe. But the M1000 should still be able to do the same amount of damage with its regular shots. So you're still going to be able to like one-shot headshot guards on, or grunts on any difficulty, so that'll be nice. I'm wondering how much more damage we're going to get with this.
This one's really interesting to me
Hmm.
because, like you said, it's kind of like a support overclock, which we don't really have too many of those.
Yeah,
If
not
I'm not
really.
mistaken, there's not too many that sort of benefit the whole team
Hmm.
that kind of just focus on the weapon itself, and that's why I really really like this. And I can see
Yeah.
a lot of potential in this personally.
Yeah.
I think out of the 4 that we've seen revealed to us, I think this one probably has the most potential
Hmm.
because, like you said, you can stack this, you can stack the IFG. If you happen to freeze whatever you're fighting, uh,
Hmm.
if you got a gunner who's using a mole on his
Yeah, coil gun.
the name coil gun, thank you, it was just escaping me. But
Yeah, no problem.
you can get some serious chunk damage with this thing if you
Yeah,
apply it correctly.
yeah, because I was thinking like you can already one shot the twins, at least the regular twin, if you have blistering necrosis and ice spear. So it's like you might be able to do that with more things if you stack even more stuff on there.
I've still yet to do. I've been trying to pull that off, and
Yeah,
you gotta have
it's
the
super
right team for
difficult.
it. Yeah, it's really difficult to pull off, but one day I will do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is just basically giving more like utility to the scout, which I think is really, really good because I believe this also it does physically mark the enemy, like it
Yeah.
highlights them so the enemy so everybody can see them, which is great, and it kind of leans into the scouts information and utility and that kind of stuff, which I think is really, really good.
Yeah.
um Overall, this one and the pump action are probably two that I'm most looking forward to.
Mm.
But then again, we haven't seen the rest of them, so
Yeah, that is true. I've seen one other than these ones.
but you're not at liberty to
Yeah.
disclose, so that's
but
fine.
but I can't say it. Yeah.
I agree with people that it does kind of suck that we don't get new weapons as often, but at the same time, you also want those weapons to be unique, interesting, and have their own sort of feel. And if they rush out weapons too quickly, it kind of doesn't feel that way.
Yeah. We don't
And
want
I
like
think this,
I was gonna say we don't want like three of the same gun, basically.
yeah,
You
exactly.
know,
You don't
or
want just a strict upgrade to the lead storm or the shotgun or whatever the case may be.
yeah,
Like
or
you
we have
want it
like
to
6
be,
different GK2s and they're all basically the same.
yeah.
It's just like, oh, okay.
This one is burst fire, which
Yeah.
I think this is a good happy medium. Like we're not getting new weapons, but based on some of these overclocks, these are going to function pretty
Mm.
much like completely new weapons. So I think that that's a very
Yeah.
good thing.
Yeah, I do
And
too. And I mean the way DRG does their like weapons and overclocks, they do feel like completely new weapons compared to a lot of games like upgrade system.
and the best way that you can use their weapons is to also make them look however you want, which leads us
Mm-hmm.
into the next topic, which is the new performance pass.
Yes.
Not really. I mean, the performance pass is relatively staying the same. Like it's same thing
Yeah.
that we've seen before, which is not a problem. Again,
Oh yeah,
completely
no.
free.
No.
Again, it's completely free, which
Yeah.
is phenomenal for a game in this generation.
Mm.
And we're getting a lot of cool new stuff. Some new things have been shown. Some new mustaches, and arguably, at least in my opinion, probably the best weapon frameworks ever got.
Yeah, these ones
At
look
least in my
awesome.
opinion, these ones look really cool. We'll have them on screen so you guys can see.
Yeah, the Neo Techia.
Yeah, they look insanely good. They look like Iron Man weapons, at least with the
Mm.
basic skin. I can only
Yeah.
imagine what these are going to look like with other skins on them. Yeah, I just think that they blew the stuff out of the water with these. Like it's just they all look phenomenal. And then everything else on the season pass again looks really, really good.
Yeah.
I know for the weapon maintenance, we're actually getting 3 new skins from the weapon maintenance instead of just 1, which is
Yes, we are.
kind of cool. I was not expecting that. I was like, okay, we're gonna get another one, and then they
Yeah.
said not 1, not 2, but 3.
That
I'm
wasn't
like, oh,
revealed to
okay,
me
cool.
either. Like I seen
I'm
the
like,
Neo Techia stuff, and it did change a little bit from when I seen it. I think I can say something where it used to have more like stickers and stuff thrown on it, which I think would actually be
interesting.
kind of cool to be put into DRG.
Oh, I think I can kind of see. I think they were going for like a neon sort of like cyberpunk-esque type
Yeah.
thing. Probably is what they're going for. These with the color scheme and the way that they. I don't know if you're familiar with Warhammer 40K a whole lot.
A little bit.
But these just, if you've ever heard of the Tau, this like
Oh,
screams
okay, yeah.
out. It just like it has their sort of like feel to it. Maybe other Warhammer 40K fans out there can vouch for it, or maybe I'm just weird. But overall,
I can see that. I at least know of the races and everything, and like it's like yeah, this does look because I mean Tau always reminds me of like Gundam stuff. So like yeah, this looks like it's sort of like Gundam type stuff too. That sort of cyberpunk. Neon.
And then we got like a couple, and they showed a new armor shader, which looks really cool. It's like that like purple and blue and like red one, which looks kind of interesting. And then a couple of other things. So overall, just like how it has been for every season, we're getting some really good stuff in the performance pass. I don't think anybody's going to complain.
No,
and
I mean
plenty
like
of stuff to work towards.
Yeah, that helmet on the. I'm not sure who that is. Maybe Driller, the green one, or maybe it's a gunner.
Oh,
that one
like
looks
the one
awesome.
it looks like a death trooper kind
of.
Yeah, we'll show it so you guys can see. But yeah, it looks really, really kind of cool.
Like that one looks awesome. I want to mess around with that one.
Yeah, it's gonna be sweet. Overall, again, they knock it out of the park when it comes to cosmetics, so no issues there.
Yeah, one of the previous stickers that was on these was funny enough in the concept thing, and it was just a QR code that you could scan.
Oh, that's funny.
Want to take a
That's
guess
what.
where it took you?
The Ghost Ship homepage.
No, think more like internet meme.
Took you to the Rickroll.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god.
That's been taken out. Sadly, they didn't include it here. I was hoping
Why did they
would.
not keep it? Why did they not keep it?
Yeah,
Oh, that's so good.
when we were looking at this, we got to see the GK2 with its skin on there and how it was being made and everything. And then there was like a QR code that was blown up. And then I think it was SNIS is like immediately like, that's a Rickroll if I've ever seen one. And they're just like, how do you know?
I love how SNIS of all people was able to just immediately suss it out. That's great. So next we have something that took me completely from left field. I didn't know this was happening. I didn't know what was coming with this. We are getting hazard level 5 plus, a new difficulty being added into this. Basically, the way this is, it functions basically the same way that you unlock hazard level 5. You have to do an assignment completely on hazard level 5, and then you unlock hazard level 5 plus. And hazard level 5 plus basically allows you to further increase the difficulty of the missions that you go on by making the enemies tougher, making more enemies spawn, making them more aggressive, which means they attack more frequently, I'm assuming.
I would assume so, or it's movement speed, one of the two.
But it could be both, too. Then player vulnerability, which I'm guessing means you'll take more damage, or you might heal slower or something like that. But overall, it's a new difficulty added. It's not hazard level 6, but it's a way for you to kind of get to a higher level of difficulty. Now, on PC, this isn't that big of a deal because there are mods that you can go to hazard level 6.
Yeah, 7, exactly.
1 Googleplex, whatever difficulty you want to get to.
Has one times 64.
I think this is really big for the console community. As somebody who originally played on the console version and then swapped to the Steam version not too long ago, not having access to mods, like it's not like bad, but like once you have access to those,
it's so hard to go back.
Challenges, it's really hard to go back, especially since even on hazard level 5, things start to become not easy, but like you start to kind of expect what to what's problematic and what's not. And here, this kind of gives people a way to get more challenges out of their missions, as well as just test themselves in a way that is available to them. And you can adjust all of these factors, all the factors that we mentioned, in like increments. So if you just want the enemies to be a little bit harder and a little bit more active, you can do that.
Or and it will reflect a whole bunch more enemies, you can do that too.
And it will reflect in your hazard bonus, so you will get a better payout. I think this is a great addition. What do you think?
I do too. Yeah, I think it's an amazing addition because for the longest time, I've heard people on console want something more. Like they've gotten used to it, but they don't have a PC. So I think it's going to be fantastic for them. It's going to be great for people that are maybe a little bit opposed to modding in one way or another. Might find it a little bit intimidating or just don't have the time to like set it up or whatever it might be. So I think it's going to be great for them as well. It'll be super fun to do, just open lobbies with these. I'm wondering if health gets dramatically changed in this for more of the common enemies, like grunts and swarmers and stuff.
That might go into enemy toughness. That might be that might give them more health or make armor tougher to break or something.
Yeah, I'm wondering how much that's going to factor. And I'm also wondering on the player vulnerability, how much more friendly fire is going to do. Because on Haz 5, we're doing 70% friendly fire already. So
they might just completely bump it up and just say, hey, 100% friendly fire.
Yeah, that's
whatever you hit the enemy with. Then the flamethrower might not be so good. Unless you run friendly.
Yeah. Friendly will get better with this, funny enough.
That's true. Yeah, it'll become a lot more usable.
Yeah, so like that's a bonus to it. I imagine like Vampire is going to be even more useful. Resupplier, like the perks that are already really good, will be even more useful on this one. But yeah, I'm wondering if it's like 10% increments where we just go up to 80 and 90, or if it's 15% and we're jumping all the way up to 100 once it's maxed out. They did say this isn't going to affect fall damage, which is nice.
That's good.
Yeah,
Scout players out there will rejoice in hearing that.
Yeah,
I'm just like, because if you max all the things, I think it's, what was it, like 175% hazard bonus?
Probably.
Because I'm wondering if you pair this up with like certain other mutators,
Mhm.
like you could probably get an over 200% hazard bonus very easily.
Yeah, probably. I imagine if you just had two mutators on there, probably of any kind, would go up to that much. Even just one with like lethal enemies, which would be probably a nightmare. Uh,
Oh,
or if you had some of the other ones, like I think Bacteria Plague's worth a lot. I don't remember exactly
I
the
think
percentage
lithophage is the
amounts.
most, isn't it?
It could
I think,
be.
I think lithophage is the most, if I'm not mistaken.
It probably is because
Um,
you have like another objective to do during the mission, so that would make sense.
I just think this is great. Also, they gave us
Mm.
just a random ability to select a random mission, which I think that's
Yeah,
fine. That's really cool because sometimes I don't know what I want to do after I get done all my
yeah,
assignments for the week. I'm just like, I don't know what I want to do.
yeah. Me too.
So
And I'm gonna combine this with like randomizer, so I can have a
yeah,
random
oh,
mission,
just pure
random
random.
loadout, and
Yeah.
like just to see how it goes. Like I think that's gonna be fun. I want to try running like the hardest difficulty with different builds too. Like I
Mhm.
was thinking maybe a Greenbeard build, like take nothing on my
I've
equipment
done
and
that a
see how
few
bad
times.
that'd be.
I've done that a few times. It is it's rough, but it's also satisfying. So now we come to probably one of the most ambitious things that they have done in seasons for a while, which
Yeah.
is seasonal switcher.
Mm,
Ability to reactivate and go through previous seasons if you have not completed them or have not even started them,
yeah.
and ability to essentially go through whatever season pass you want at any given time. Basically doing the same thing that Helldivers is doing with
Mm,
having the weapons available at all times.
yeah.
Or several other games have it. I can't name some of them off the top of my head, but basically you're going to be able to go through whatever season you want whenever you want.
Yeah.
This is I remember when they announced this before they mentioned everything
Mm,
before they did the On the Horizon stream, and I was like, this is
yeah.
this is this is crazy in a good way.
Yeah, that was one of the more surprising things when we seen that like right away there was like, oh yeah, we're bringing back old seasons. It's like, oh really? That's awesome. So you can go and get everything that you missed out on, or if you hopped into the game in like season 3, you can just
Mhm,
try out season 1 and 2 if you're curious about them.
mhm.
You can get all the different gear from that, and then any gear that you did get, even if you unlocked it in this pass, you're still gonna get something. I'm assuming that's credits or
Yeah, I think they just said you'll get some credits if you reach something in the past that you've already unlocked, like
yeah,
the crates or something. You'll just get credits, which is
yeah.
I think that's totally okay
Yeah, and that's
because
awesome because that's going to free up crates to have even more stuff in them too.
the loot pool is going to be less bloated, which I think is
Yeah,
really going to be nice and help people get some of the things that they want.
yeah,
I
yeah.
think And I believe they also said, like, when you set up your lobby, you're gonna be, like, selecting the season that you are working on, and you're gonna
Mm,
be able to see what seasons other people's lobbies are working in, so you can see, like,
yeah,
"Oh, this person's in season 2, this person's in season 3."
yeah. And if you're
And
playing in like season 4 and then you join somebody in season 1, you'll still get progression towards your season 4.
yes, the only difference is that the events will be will have, like, different rates depending on what you are
Mm,
in. So if you're in a season 1 or 2 lobby, you'll have a higher chance of finding like prospectors or nemesis or the data posts or whatever, and
the
you'll have a
antenna
less
things.
likely you'll have a less likely chance of getting meteors or herald. They might still show up. I assume they still have a chance of showing up. I just assume it's probably a
Yeah,
lot less.
yeah. I would guess that they would still show up since they'd probably still be in the pool of enemies or event things that could show
Mhm.
up. So
So basically, you're going to be seeing a lot of season 1 and 2s probably, and not a lot of season 3 and 4s.
yeah, that makes sense.
That's for except for the people who missed out on it. Everyone's gonna go through seasons 1 and 2 and then begrudgingly get through 3 and 4. And then they gave us a lot of like extra smaller things, which
Hmm.
some I was expecting, some I wasn't, like the promotion tracker.
Yeah, that was pretty awesome. I wasn't expecting
That's
that
actually
either.
really it's not like a super necessary thing, but it's
No, but it's
still a cool
awesome.
thing. Yeah, it's cool for the veterans to showcase themselves as to like how
Mm,
far. Because I know I don't have I'm still in, I guess, the grand scheme of things, not as experienced as some of the super veterans. I don't think I've ever gotten anybody to legendary, but then again, I did switch systems. I did switch platforms,
yeah,
so
yeah. So
I
you're
still have a
probably
little bit.
legendary, like
If
if you
anything, I
combine the
might
two.
my NG would probably be the only one that's at legendary.
Oh,
But
okay.
plus, once you get to a certain point, it's like it just shows playtime and nothing else.
Yeah, that's true.
But I still think it's really cool. It's going to show people how much somebody has been playing. I
Mm.
shudder to think at what drilling in the name of's driller is going to be at. I'm assuming he's
I
probably
want
going
to
to
see
be in the
that
quad.
one.
I'm assuming he's going to be in the quad digits, but I could be wrong.
I don't know. He
We'll.
does like driller a lot,
I
so
You don't say. But this is just a cool flex thing, I think.
Yeah, I
I
mean
think it's
it's
just
pretty awesome.
Mhm.
They said like there's a mod that already does this, and it's like it should just be implemented into the game. So it's like, oh, okay, cool. Like it's
Oh, well,
something
then
nice
there
to
you go.
see. I mean, I'm just gonna go in blind to see how much I've got in there because I play almost all the classes about the same. So
Mhm.
I'm wondering if one's gonna be higher or if they're all gonna be like about the same when I actually get there.
And then we got new mutators, which
We did.
I was not expecting that at all. We got new
I
warnings and
wasn't
we got
either.
new, which is kind of cool. You want to run us through the
Sure.
mutations that we're getting?
So we've got two new that are bonus ones. These are the
Anomalies.
yes, the anomalies. I couldn't remember their name. The anomalies, and then we have two new mutators. The anomalies, we've got blood sugar, which this one's pretty awesome. It makes it so you have a toxic atmosphere where you will be taking damage over time, but any enemy you kill will drop health. I'm assuming this is going to be red sugar that they drop, and then you can pick up. Not really.
I think so.
Yeah, I would assume that rather than just kill at any distance, you get the health from it. So vampire is going to be really useful in this one, I imagine. It's going to be really nice to have. And I can also see this being a little bit of an issue, similar to like low oxygen if you're not paying attention to your health and you have to like
Or
run.
if you just get like a drought where you're just not getting enemies. Like
Yeah.
if you're on like a mission type where I don't know, I'm trying to think like an escort duty mission where like yeah,
Mm,
when the drill dozer's moving, like you have a
mm,
lot of enemies, but then when you get to the point where you have to refuel, the enemies kind of they don't really
yeah.
come at you a whole lot. You're just like, okay, well, I'm just sitting here slowly dying.
Yeah.
So like that's the only thing that I'm worried about. I'm wondering if it's going to be a case of like they might not let you like you might get to like one health, but then you don't go
Doesn't
down
kill
from
you.
it.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if that might be the case,
I can
or
see
if
that.
there's something else under the hood where it's like, okay, more enemies will spawn if
Mm.
that's the case, or you'll constantly have at least something coming.
Yeah, yeah. And I think like health perks are going to be even better on those ones. So you're going to
Mm-hmm.
get like resupplier value. Sweet Tooth, you'll probably have like constant bonus move speed from. That one would be fun. And like
Mm-hmm.
Vampire's really good. Our second one is called the Secret Secondary. This is quite literally we get another secondary. So that one's going to be kind of cool to see if you like doing the secondaries. It could be any of the secondaries that we already have. So collect gunk seeds, collect mushrooms, kill fester fleas, whatever it might be. I think that one's just going to get you extra money. So that's pretty nice. And then we've got the two mutators, which are duck and cover. This makes it so you have a lot more ranged enemies, which that can be an issue on certain mission types.
Yeah, definitely. This is what I'm saying. Gunner value is about to go up because his
Yeah.
shield is going to become insane. Because I'm guessing like Tri-Jaws,
Mm.
Spitters, Septic Spreaders,
Yeah.
maybe
Menaces.
Spitballers?
Maybe. They didn't say
Maybe
spitballers,
Spitballers?
but
I
that is
mean,
another ranged
it's a
enemy.
ranged enemy,
We
so
might get more of the
yeah.
new enemies too on those
The
ones.
menaces, yeah, I didn't even think about the menaces, but like, oof, the web
Yeah.
spitters or
Mm.
like, there's just a lot that could match.
And then our last one is the Ebo Knight outbreak, where we're getting Ebo Knights that we have to fight.
Just
So
randomly
Driller
in the
just got
caves.
yeah, so Driller just got better. Driller got
Yeah,
more value.
yeah, this is crazy because like this is the one that probably uh, surprised me the most, just because like we haven't seen the Ebonite grunts out or the Ebonite bugs outside of the actual event.
Yeah.
And normally they're contained to that because you have the pickaxe overcharge or that overcharge your pickaxe. And I think they did say that it's going to be faster when
Mm,
this mutation is in play because, yeah, the Ebonite bugs are just going to be out. They're just going to be out and about. They're going to be
yeah.
parts of the swarms, and you just got to deal with them, which I think is going to be really interesting.
Mm,
I'm wondering if it's going to be something like Exploder Infestation, where they just show up constantly, like in groups of
yeah.
like 4 or 5 at a time.
I'm not sure because they might spawn by themselves or they might spawn in groups of already existing enemies. I was a little bit worried about this one for new players because they might not
Mm.
understand how to kill these right away. It
Right,
might
because
not be apparent.
I definitely agree because it's not you don't come across this event too often, and when you
Mm,
do, it's very like it's very contained because
yeah.
all the Ebonite grunts are in one location, and you're near the dispenser, so you
Mm,
can kind of understand. And Mission Control tells you like, you know, put your guns down. You need to get your pickaxes for this one. He kind of tells you like how it works.
yeah.
You can kind of figure that out. But in this case, you know, somebody sees this, a new player shows up, and he's just like, "Oh, okay, what is this thing? Why is it not taking any damage whatsoever?" You know?
Yeah. Yeah, like
But yeah,
that. That's the only
I
thing
can
I'm a
kind of
little
see
bit
that.
worried about. Unless you again have mission control, just be like, that's not going to do any damage or something. Get your pickaxe or
Hmm.
whatever it is. Like if you just keep shooting it, maybe he'll give you a message or there'll be a pop up or something. It's like that's
Right, right,
the only
right.
thing I'm a little bit concerned about. Like it won't affect us because like we know how to kill him, but for somebody brand new just hopping into the game and they see a mutator like this, it's like, oh okay, I'll just go in here. And
Hmm.
like, oh wait, what the heck? Why is the rock bug not dying? It's just not
Exactly.
dying. My gun
Like he doesn't
sucks.
get it. And then they kind of get a little bit of like that because that's kind of what happened with Rockpox is a lot of people when they first started kind of got
Mm,
overwhelmed with Rockpox and they're like,
yeah.
oh, this isn't fun to go up against. So I'm
Mm,
kind of hoping we don't have that. I like the idea,
I do too.
and I hope they kind of expand on this a little bit. Maybe like I
Mm,
don't know how. I mean, Curse Sight it would just be like normal bugs because you don't really need them
yeah.
for anything. But I feel like they could do something along those lines.
Mm, yeah. And I
Um,
mean, like you said, we don't have Ebonites all that much. I guess besides that one point in time where you could make a Steve Ebonite, but
I didn't even know you could do that. You could do that.
there was a bug at one point that let you do
What?
that. Yeah,
That's
you had just an
actually
invincible
awesome.
Steve.
That's incredible.
I think it got patched out within like a week of that.
Oh man, why did they do that? That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Well, hopefully they break Reatomizer again, and maybe we can do it again.
Oh my goodness. That's
Because that,
phenomenal. I did not know you could do that.
yeah, because that's also been broken at least twice when you can have elite Steves.
Oh my
So
god.
like,
I mean, I know you can get basically unkillable Steves if there's regenerating bugs, but
yeah,
that's
yeah,
all. That's a whole nother. A couple other smaller things. We got cosmetic filtering now, which I'm so grateful for because
yeah.
it's gonna let us figure out exactly what type of drip we want to put together. It's gonna be
Mm.
fantastic.
Yeah, I
You're
was
gonna be able to
surprised
sort.
how many options they gave us too.
Yeah, it's like separated by season, by like
Mm.
if it's event or if it's standard issue,
Mm.
like mustaches, beards, hats, head. Like there's a whole lot of different categories, which means they took a lot of time to look at it, which I'm very much grateful for. And then we also got some new cave generations, which I'm looking forward to. I always like
Mm.
to see some new terrains, some new setups, a couple like you kind of get bored. Not that you get bored of the caves, but like you see the same sort of generations, and you're like, okay, this room sucks. Why do I have to get the dreadnought in one of these like
Yeah,
tower rooms? Like, why is
yeah.
this the case? So I think this will be interesting. I kind of hope we see some more like large open
Mm.
rooms. Because
It
I feel
seemed
like we
like we
don't get too
were.
many of those. Oh, okay,
Yeah,
okay. So you got to see most of the
I got to see some of it. Yeah,
got
when
to
they
see
were
some of
putting it
them? Okay.
together. Yeah,
Okay.
so I didn't get to see like how they look if you were in them because it's just a lot of like outlines of like,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah,
here's where
the
the cave
screenshots
is.
they show like
Yeah.
here's the wireframes and you're like, I know what I'm looking at.
Yeah, yeah, it's like that. So it's like it'll feel different once you're actually in there rather than just like looking out on it. But
Mhm.
I mean, I'm always a big fan of the extra cave gens because that's just more maps essentially that we get to play around with. You get to figure
Yeah.
out where to go and where to get lost and everything.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah, I think
uh,
there's like over 20, I think they said,
something like that. Yeah,
which is really, really interesting.
yeah.
Um, and then of course we're getting new dances, which I have absolutely no idea what they're gonna. You probably do.
I have seen them. Yes.
Uh, just answer me this question right now: is the gritty one of them?
I don't think so. No.
You don't think so? Okay, that's all I can. That's all I can hope for. I do not want Deep Rock to be tainted by the gritty. And then the last major thing that they really had, which again is something that was completely out of left field that I did not see coming, was we got a rework or update to the escort duty mission,
Yep.
which I did not see coming. I did not see expected, and I didn't
Mm.
really think it was necessary. But I will take it because from what they have shown, it looks pretty cool. Basically,
Yeah.
the way that they're doing it is the final stage of the Armor and Hearthstone fight. The phases of the fight are going to actually vary similar to they do with the caretaker. So normally it goes wave and then rocks and then wave and then
Mm.
pillars. They're
Yes.
adding a third attack into the rotation,
Mm.
which is basically this large crystal claw comes up out of the ground and basically snatches up the players and immobilizes them. And
Yeah.
that will go into the rotation of attacks. So it can be like swarm, then maybe claw, then swarm, then towers, or it could
Mm.
go swarm and then towers and then swarm and then rocks, or it could be, it could be any, which
Yeah.
I think is, it's not a huge change, but I think it's going to be enough to sort of give escort duties a nice little resurgence in popularity. Escort duty missions are one of my more favorite type of missions to do, just because I like them a lot. So
yeah, I think that they're pretty cool. I like them quite a bit, and just having these new claw attacks is going to get you a lot more variety to it. I think it's just another buff to Driller in a way, though, too. Where it's just like, okay, if I get grabbed as Driller, I don't care. Like,
I'm starting to realize why they named this season Drilling Deeper. I'm starting to realize it now.
So it's like there is that, but for every other class, it will kind of slow you down. I guess you could also say that this is a buff to potentially Berserker, if you're
that's
using
true.
that one, and especially with the new Ebonites too.
Yeah, you could say the same thing. Yeah, absolutely.
Like that way you can get your way out of that if you don't want to be, slowed down. I don't know how quickly you can break through these, but it should be interesting. And this is kind of cool because it's more like the caretaker fight. So we got like another like rotating boss battle. So yeah, I'm on board for it.
Yeah, I'm very much on board for it. I imagine it's going to be like probably the same number of hits to take out those like laser crystals. Might be like 2 hits per section if I had to take a guess. Because I imagine it's the same material that the Armor and Hearthstone is using.
Yeah. That would probably be a safe bet. I'm just wondering if you're going to need to hit it more if you get stuck in a weird spot. Like you can't climb out.
Yeah, you might be. Yeah, that's the thing. Is it going to be like Rockpox where you can bust yourself out, or do you just have to use your pickaxe? Which I guess you could use your pickaxe if you yourself are stuck in it.
Yeah, I'm assuming it's going to be that way since it'd be more difficult in solo. Because then you just have to have Bosco get you out.
Yeah, that would kind of... Bosco would go up in value. Everything would be going up in value.
It's like Bosco mining in tier 1, I think, would be like top pick.
I think that's everything that they have announced as of right now with Season 5 coming out. I know that they said there's going to be a little bit more showing, and we'll probably get the full spiel once the narrated trailer comes out and everything else.
Yeah.
But that's a lot of stuff that we've got. Hence why I said I think this is probably going to be the most content that we have seen out of any particular season so far. And in my personal opinion, I think this is shaping up to be probably the most successful of the seasons that we have had so far, especially considering where we came from with season 4, which was a bit of a rocky history of season 4, that some people love it, some people hate it, or a lot of people are well in between.
Yeah, I would probably say I'm more in between for season 4. I like some of it.
Yeah, I'm right there with you.
Drag out a little bit, but that's understandable once I gotta like talk to Ghost Ship, and
Oh yeah, once you get an insight, yeah, it makes sense. I do think though that, because I know that they said that it's a lot more unlikely with obviously the focus shifting to Rogue Core that we're not going to get as many maintenance, if any maintenance updates in the coming months once season 5 comes out, which I think is kind of understandable because also those maintenance updates were primarily meant to fix issues.
Yeah.
And if they don't know what issues are there, they can't really fix them. If there's a glaring issue, I'm sure that they will fix it in a timely manner. It's just a case that they're not going to promise any sort of maintenance updates if they don't know that there's any sort of issue. And then they just throw the things in like the hide and go seek beer or whatever the case may be, just to kind of make it more interesting. So.
Which I mean, that's a pretty big update for like one
that's
of the
a pretty big
updates.
Thing too. Yeah, that's absolutely for a light update. It's like they're like mini season updates almost.
Yeah, it's like, hey, you want another game mode?
Another fun thing to do.
Okay, cool.
They just need to give us a pool table in the space rig, and I'll be happy. That's really
that'd
what
be
they
awesome.
need to do. But yeah, I think that's essentially everything that they have for season 5 at the moment. Obviously, we'll know more about this, and we'll do our best to keep you guys updated as more stuff comes out. And stay tuned for more things involving season 5.
Oh, and the DLC armor is not Helldiver armor. Sadly.
Oh man,
I made that as a prediction, and then like they were like, "No, it's not that." We weren't talking to them before we made it. I was like,
they still haven't said what they're doing for the crossover yet, though. But we will. They got to be doing something soon, right?
Yeah.
But we'll see.
Arrowhead works underneath them now with the debacle of Sony.
They fixed it though.
They did. That is true.
They came back and fixed it, but that's a topic of discussion for a whole another day, which maybe we'll go into that at some point. But
sure, that'd be fun.
So I think that's pretty much everything we're going to be talking about today. And thank you for being here. And
appreciate it.